It's 1 o'clock. I think we can start. Welcome to today's coffee lecture presented by the Chemistry, Biology and Pharmacy Information Center here at ETH Zurich. My name is André Kilian and our topic today is VOS Viewer. VOS Viewer is a tool that can be used to visualize networks between research authors, institutions, topics, organizations, countries, and so on. It's very versatile. It's a free software. The source code is not available, but you can use the output for your publications or for your homepage. It doesn't bring any data itself, but you can use APIs of literature databases, or you can import bibliographic data files in various formats to visualize them in the client. There are two versions available. There's a standalone desktop version for Windows, Mac, and other operating systems. And there's a browser version, VOS Viewer Online. There's many different use cases for VOS Viewer. You can, for example, discover authors or funders, institutions that maybe might be interesting for you to collaborate with. You can use it to evaluate journals and see, for example, do they only cover a certain topic? Are they very interdisciplinary? Are they only connected with a small number of other journals? You can find out which authors are very significant in your field, and you can also use it to track changes and discover new trends in your research area. And I write etc. because you can really interpret data in a lot of different ways, and you can be very creative with it. So you can really adapt it to your needs. I'll only show you a few basic functions today, which is also already a lot and very useful. So I first show you the desktop client. It comes in a standalone exe file. If you're using Windows, you don't need to install it. You can just run it anywhere. And it also comes with a extensive manual where all the functions are explained in detail. So when you open it, there's a blank window, and I can quickly populate it. I'll just start with a simple example. I create a new map, and now I can choose where the data should come from, and I select I want to use bibliographic data. And again, I'm asked for the source of the bibliographic data, and in this case, I want to use the API of an online database. I could use Crossref, OpenAlex, or PubMed Central, or if I input a file with DOIs, I have a number of more options to get the data from. In this case, I decide to use OpenAlex, which is a new bibliographic database using open data, which is already one of the largest literature databases available. And I can use several options for searching for data. In this case, I want to look up a specific researcher, Volodymyr Kochov, who is in the biology department and the Paul Scherrer Institute. Authors, as you may know, have a unique identifier, the ORCID, and I can use this ORCID to find publications by this author. So I click Next, and VOS Viewer is downloading the data from OpenAlex. I get a list of matching publications. I use them all. And now I can choose how this data should be visualized. So I leave the standard options. I want to see co-authorships of this person. And I want to see them as persons in opposition to organizations or countries. There's a number of more options. I'll just leave them all at default for the moment. And I want every author displayed, even if it's only one publication that has been co-authored. So I go down to one here, click Next again, I select to include them all, finish. And now I have a visualization of the co-authorship network of this author, Volodymyr M. Kochov. I can zoom in and zoom out and scroll around. Here on the right, I have a lot of options to adapt the visualization to my needs. I can select a black background or a standard one. sizes and colors can be adapted, the font, etc. When you hover over the nodes, you see on the bottom more details about it. So down here at the bottom of the window, it says there are 6 documents that have been co-authored. There are 8 links to other authors and so on. I can also hover over a specific link, and I also get more details at the bottom of the window. So this is a basic overview over the research network. I can display more information, which I find very interesting. When you go up here to overlay visualization, you can get a new coloring method. So before it was just clusters of interconnected authors. Now I can have, for example, a color scheme adapted to the average publication year. So I have a color scale down here from blue is older publications and yellow is very new publications. So I can see how the network of this author has developed over time. So this was the first network he published in, and then it changed. And down here you see the most recent authors he has been working with together. I can also have different calculation of colors, for example, normalized citations. That means the average number of citations in relation with how old or how new they are. So in this case, yellow means that in by average, the co-authored papers have gained many citations in a comparatively short time. So this can be used to find out which collaboration might have been more fruitful than others when citation is your benchmark. So this was my first example. I use the same data set again. So I just go to create again and click through all the options. And this time, instead of an author network, I want to see an organization network. I choose all the default options again. And now it tells me the largest network has 12 connected items. The rest of them are isolated. So I just want to see the connected items. So I click yes. And now I have a visualization of institutions the selected author has been collaborating with, or which institutions his co-authors have been affiliated with. So we have a couple of German or Swiss universities. Here we have a small cluster of Italian organizations. So you can analyze who an author has been in touch with. So this is just one example. Of course, you can use any combinations of authors and institutions and whatever is interesting to you. So for the last few minutes, I'll quickly show you the online version. You can access that at app.vosviewer.com. But here you cannot directly create new maps. You can open data files to visualize them, but you have to get the data from somewhere else first. So you could, for example, use the desktop client and then use the online client to share your data with other people. VOSviewer is also integrated with Dimensions. Dimensions is a literature database that is licensed here at ETH, but it also has a free version that you can use. And any data set that you find here that has up to 25,000 hits can also be visualized by VOSviewer directly in Dimensions. So I'll show you an example. I'm looking for plastic degrading or plastic eating microorganisms or bacteria or enzymes. So I want to find out something about this topic. And I only search in title and abstract to have it a bit more specific. And I did something wrong. I omitted quotation mark. So now I get 256 publications with these terms in the title or abstract. And Dimensions has a pretty good analytical view, which you have on the right. So I'll open it up. And we have now a number of different categories. And each of, or most of these categories have the option here under network to display a VOS viewer visualization. So I selected funders now, and I get a visualization of organizations that have funded publications with these topics I specified before. So I can now go to full screen again, and I can hover over these nodes to find out which they are. And I see there's a lot of different funding organizations. The biggest one is from China, National Natural Science Foundation. This one is also from China. So I can see who is funding this kind of research. And again, I can also color not by clusters, but also, for example, by publication year. So again, I can see which of this has been more recent and which has been going on for a longer time. So the most recent one seems to be this one, Chinese Academy of Agriculture. So I can get a feeling of who's currently funding the research I'm interested in. And again, you can use this not only for funders, but for any of the categories here, and you can highlight the topic that interests you most. So there's really a lot of possibilities to analyze your own research, or to get a feeling of how the research in your area is organized and where to look closer. Okay, to finish things up, I go back to the presentation. If you're interested in this, I would recommend you to check out the homepage. It's very well organized. The manual is very good. There's a couple of video tutorials and examples to play around with. And again, the Dimensions implementation is pretty useful in my opinion. So for this, my lecture is finished. If you have any questions, you can unmute yourself or use the chat, and I will try to answer you. I paste the link to download the coffee lecture card with some basic information about it. You can just download it. Thank you too. And if you have any question about this, you can also just write me an email. If you would like to know how to visualize a certain question, I can come up and discuss it with you or send you a proposal. Okay, so that's it for today. If there's no further questions, you're also very welcome to join us again tomorrow. Our topic tomorrow will be topic alerts, where and how to set them, which is also very useful to track research in your area. And it will be held by Oliver Wren at the same place and the same time. Thank you very much for joining. Have a good day. Bye-bye.